everybody, welcome to Garrett's Games. We are a podcast and a video series about board games. On Sundays, we release our audio podcast that talks about 2 different board games, usually. It has some interviews with the designers and other things like that. And then on our Tuesday videos here, we talk about a single board game, usually, and discuss its merits and show you all the stuff that's going on. Our video series, is a short-lived or so far, and we hope to continue its expansion, so therefore give us a thumbs up and give us a subscription. Our long-running audio podcast is almost reaching episode 1,000. In fact, it will be doing that in July, and listen to the audio podcast this Sunday, and you can find out how you can enter a contest that involves both the video stuff and the audio stuff. So head over to garrettsgames.com and listen to podcasts starting this Sunday, and you can get in on the competition or the whole thing to get some prizes. Good stuff. All right, This week we have Rivages. By the way, I'm Doug.
And I'm Shelley.
We have Rivages from Joachim Thome for 1 to 5 players from Pandasaurus Games. This is a draw and draw game. So we've got roll and writes. This is a draw and draw. So you've got your pen, exactly. And you are going to be drawing cards and then drawing on maps as you are trying to get the most points, which are these little scrolls. Oh, there's 1s and there's 5s, maybe possibly gaining more points by going up the Tree of Wisdom. I think that's the Tree of Wisdom. And having a good time as you maybe go over the most maps and get points over the course of a game that lasts 20 to 30 minutes. So let's check out Rivages. So, Rivages, as we said, is a draw and draw game where the game starts with each player getting a couple of these cards. Notice that they are listed for how many players are in the game. And because when the deck runs out and you hit the end game scoring cards, then everybody's going to get 1 more turn and that's going to finish the game. So going through this deck is the game end trigger. Everybody starts out with 2 of these cards, and they have usually 3 rows on them. The end game have different, but they have 3 rows of images on them. And you are going to be using your pen, and you're going to be choosing one of the rows on one of your 2 cards to cross off things on your map. You have to start the game, though, after you've gotten your cards, with looking at which of the boats, notice there's little boat symbols here, is where you're going to have the landing, and then you're going to build out from that boat or other things that you have crossed out on the map. Each map has some goals down here at the bottom. Usually on either side, on the lower left and lower right, it's goals about crossing off certain landscape types, okay? And then in the middle, there might be some other type of goal, and it gives you points. So remember, scrolls are points. So in this case, for example, if I were to get over here and cross off these 3 brown landscapes, I would have done the first one and I'd get 1 point. If I got all the way down here and did the other section of brown landscape, I would get 2 more points, all right? Shelley's got over here.
My board is a little bit different, and every board is different, which is really cool. So we'll look at some of those. But if I get the blues, both sets of blues crossed off, I'm going to get 2 victory points. And if I come over here and I get the first yellow, I would get 1 victory point. And if I got to the other yellow, I would get 2. And if I surround this palace, I'm going to get a victory point plus 2
wild
telescopes.
Yeah, I mean,
telescopes, not telescopes. Telescopes. And that would mean that I could cross off anything as long as it's touching something else that I've already crossed off.
Right, exactly.
And then the other one, if I did the second one, I would get 3 victory points.
Right. Whereas my special one for my map is if I crossed off these 4 special symbols, I would get 2 points and then 2 wild cross-offs. Notice that, there are land type specific versus symbols. And here, for example, this one, because it's not on a specific land type, I could cross it off with anything, whereas these are specific land type colors that I would have to get to do that. And how do you do that? Well, you're looking at your cards, and each player, it has to choose the topmost row on any one card to use as their choice for crossing things off, all right? So for example, I would get these cards, and before I start looking at where I want to start my boat, and if I look at this, I don't have the best choices because my top one here is 2 blues and a brown, and if I look over here, this boat starts. I could get 2 blues going,
no problem,
but there's no brown next to it. Whereas over here, it is a brown, and then there's no blue. This other one is a action of my choice, but then marking off a gift bag, okay, or a sack, and I'm nowhere near that.
No.
So these aren't the best choices, and that's going to be one of the things. You have to make the best of, or make the most of the choices that you have, right? So what I probably would start off and say, okay, well, I'm going to start at this boat,
Definitely.
and I'm going to at least make it so that I'm going to do these, say I'm going to do these 2 blues, okay, because then I'm close to green, I'm close to yellow, I've also got more blue to do, I've got this, the telescope, which would allow me to do a wild anywhere, and I'm also close to this, the tree of knowledge, which allows me to start crossing off things on my second board. By the way, these are double-sided, whoops, everybody has to choose either to do the A or the B side, and once you've got that, then the B side is different for everybody. Okay, once I do that, okay, I have to cross off the entire row. So even though I didn't use this brown, I cross off that entire row, and it now goes to Shelly, who's crossed off something on hers.
So I'll do mine really fast. Let's see, my top ones are a blue and 2 yellows, or 3 yellows. And near my boats, I have yellow.
Right, and
so
she also
good.
has a yellow
goal.
So definitely
nice.
doing the
so
3
these 3
yellows
yellows
is
perfect for me.
thing.
So I will cross them off. Cross, 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 and I will put this here. 1, 2, 3.
And she would have already marked her boat to say that's the boat where she's going to start. Now, I would get this. Now, the other thing that I might have considered, and I really didn't do it when I was looking at that, is notice what I have given Shelly now.
What'd you give me?
I had to deal with a less than ideal situation, and I have given her 3 wilds as the layer. Now, so she can now use this card. Now she has that first card that she had, as well as this second card, which is really good and really nice. Whereas now mine, I've just got yellows and reds, okay? So I'm still not doing the greatest with the cards that I've got. But again, you're trying to make the most of the cards that you have. Now, one of the interesting things here is that you can spend as long or as little as you want on any particular map, because as soon as you trace a path to the other boat, you then get a new map. Okay, and so you can fulfill as many or as few of those actions as possible, and at the end of the game, the person who has gone onto the most maps is going to get, in the case of a 2-player game, 3 points. In the case of a 3 to 5 player game, 4 or 2 points, whoever's first and second in that. All right, so you're going to play on through. You're going to do this. If during a turn, say I had done this, say I'd gotten this card and I had used this one, if I pass a card to Shelly that is completely empty or completely full, no spots left to use, she puts it on the discard pile and draws a card. And again, that is the trigger for the end of the game. When you go to the bags, these little satchels on a thing, you get to, why don't you talk about what you got here?
Okay, well, you grab one out and it has something special on it. Usually it's 2 things. It says cross off
that's a red landscape, red or brown landscape, and a wild.
So I could cross off anything, which is pretty cool. So I could as long as it's touching.
And you can use no more than one of these in a round.
Right.
But they're really nice to have because they're an added bonus to get things going on your boards.
Right. So I had that brown. So this is touching. I could do this brown here, and I could do this one as the wild. It wouldn't have to be, but that gives me another wild.
Right.
So then I could go and I could get this one as well, which could be really good for me, especially because it's working towards maybe getting getting towards the other boat, or maybe I'm wanting to get to this bag so I can get my bonus.
Yeah, so there are other ones. Here's a special one where if I went first to the key and then to the castle, I would get these points. So here, for example, is the key. And if I go there and I get all the way to the castle, then I'm going to get 3 victory points and I get to put 2 wilds on. So all of the different map boards have interesting possibilities, and you're not sure what you're going to get, but you, again, try to make the most of what you've got. And in 20 to 30 minutes, you've got a game. So what do you think of Rivages, hon?
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
There's no downtime, really, because you are marking very quickly off on your board and on your card, and then you're passing it. You're deciding which card you're going to do. That's a good decision. You're deciding if you're going to bail on even getting to different points on here. Maybe you're just going to get to the boats. Because you get points for having the most boards completed.
Right, exactly.
In the end, it's simply counting up the boards to see who has the most, and then also going on here and seeing how many of these things you've accomplished, because you mark them off on here as you do them.
Right, and as you do them, you take the points. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so there are a lot of draw and draw roll and writes out there. This is a neat one in that you're thinking about, because you've got these cards and because you're passing them to your opponents, to your left in a 3 or more player game. You are also, as I was intimating before, thinking about what is the thing that I want to pass along. What am I passing along? Am I setting them up too much? Am I getting as good a bonus out of the card, or should I wait to do that so I can get a decent bonus before I pass it on, and I know that they're going to benefit quite a bit from it?
Right, because I technically, after I did one row, pass it on. Maybe I don't want to pass these on to Doug, for example.
Right, exactly.
So I hold it a little longer.
Right.
But doesn't mean I'm going to get to use this row.
Right.
I don't get to use it anyway.
No, you're definitely not going to use the row.
And it's how the game progresses to go through these cards really fast. So it's definitely this very fast, mark it here.
Right.
Do your points, mark it off, take your pieces, move on to the boards. So you're kind of just going, it's a little bit more autonomous in that way.
There is a little bit of autonomy and solitaire nature to it.
But you are waiting for the other person to pass your card to you. Then of course, you're doing your action, and then you're deciding which one to pass.
Right.
But I could finish a board before Doug, or he could finish before me.
And, if you're playing with kids, this is something where you might all want to say, okay, which ones are you crossing out? So they don't cheat. Just saying. But
or just make sure that they understand the rules and aren't thinking they have to, like I was saying, connect these up. You just have to get to them in order to go onto your other board to get points as well, which would be scored at the end.
So again, this is Rivages. It is from Pandasaurus Games, Joachim Thome, and for 1 to 5 players, 20 to 30 minutes. Really a solid addition to the draw and draw or roll and write genre, and one that we would strongly recommend.
Yeah.
All right. That'll do it for this week, guys. Hope you're doing well. Remember, we've got that competition. Subscribe and give us a thumbs up. You can head down to the show notes and check out the extensive list of games that no longer fit on our shelves but belong on your table. Great way to support the podcast and this video series. And we look forward to hearing your comments in the video comments below. And talk to you next week. We'll see you. Bye.
Bye.